That's right. Good morning, everybody. Feels good to be back on the morning shift. It just feels good. It feels like the regular season. I just like the vibe of it. It feels like kind of how we started all this in our routine, closer to the regular season in the mornings. It's a fresh start to the day. Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate it. So here we're gonna do a couple things today. Uh, I'm feeling I'm feeling like we're turning a corner here in a lot of ways. And maybe some of you will disagree, but I feel like we're finally turning a corner here towards some stabilization in a winter that, in a lot of ways, just felt a little unstable and a lot of unknowns and moving parts that cause anxiety to some people more than others. I'm prone to being wound real tight when it comes to Notre Dame. And a lot of this winter had me in more of an uncomfortable place than I'd like to be in the middle of the winter of a Notre Dame situation. I feel like we're turning the corner on that. And so, in some ways, I'm hoping this show is going to be an introduction to a productive and positive spring session for Notre Dame. I just think it's going to be important to have a good run this spring, calm things down, get the new staff members integrated, and then we all have these positive views going into the long layoff. And then after the 4th of July fireworks, that's always my indicator. You got about a month left, and then your life, it goes back to Notre Dame stress every minute. That's where I think we're heading towards here. So I want to go over a couple of the things that are in my mind as we get ready to enter this spring, and I want to know what you guys think. One thing on my mind is I feel like the hiring cycle's just about over, hopefully for Notre Dame, that nobody else leaves. And I want to know what you think of the new hires. Do you think some of them are upgrades? Are some of them upgrades, some of them downgrades? Wait and see. With the special teams guy, I have a note about that in particular to make people feel a little better about that one. So that's kind of where my mind's at. So we're gonna do roll call. I'm gonna go over a couple of my notes. I'm gonna get to the phone calls quick today and kind of let people have their say. So it's happy to be here, happy to have you here. Thanks everybody. YouTube, obviously, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps more than you realize. And the computer algorithm notifications on that way, you'll be alerted every time a new episode drops. You don't want to miss it. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You could give me a call in line. You know what it is. 312-900-8815. Fighting Irish Wire every day. Go there, read about Notre Dame, okay? All right, let's hit the roll call. Get through my stuff real quick. I don't want to make people wait too long on the phones. I have a habit of doing that. I'm still playing with trying to produce this show and think of it how a producer of a radio show would do this while trying to engage and do all this stuff. It's not a perfect science, and I'm trying to get better at getting to callers quicker, giving people too much time or not enough time. That's an imperfect science, and there's a lot of factors. So bear with me. I'm trying to get better at all that producer end of it. But as a content guy who gets wrapped up in the discussions, it's hard sometimes for me to make a cutoff or make those decisions most practically. It's an ongoing science I'm working on. Bear with me. Appreciate you guys. Matt Miller, good to see you, man. Good to have you here. Morning, everybody. Missed these morning shows. Can't wait for the season to come around. It's a long time, man. It's such a long time. Heck, it's a long time. Just till blue and gold is a long time from now. It's like 45 days or something. It feels like that should be a lot sooner, but it isn't. It isn't. Stephen, morning, Irish Nation, and our fearless leader, John. I don't know where I'm leading you, but we're going somewhere together. Nick Dean, always good to see you, Nick Dean. Deborah Thomas, good morning, everybody. Good to see you as well. Look at this. This is what I'm asking for. This is what I'm talking about. Primetime 21, loving the quick but clearly thought out hires, hashtag the Freeman factor. So that's somebody who believes that Freeman didn't panic and just start hiring his buddies or, just go to people he knew that weren't going to say no. Um, so Prime Time here believes this is a staff that Marcus has put together full of competent guys that have the backgrounds he wants and agree with his vision of moving all this forward and that it's going to be a great working dynamic. Now, I am going to tell you this. Over the weekend, I had a lot of Notre Dame conversations. I went out of my way to talk to some people who think differently than me, see things different than me via email, phone conversation, text, whatever it is. And I did actually gain some insight from inside the program through people I know that told me when Marcus is hiring these guys, anybody, any position he's hiring for, there's a couple things that are first and foremost to him. Number one is what kind of a guy are they? Now, that sounds very basic for like a coach being like, well, yeah, I don't want to hire some jerk on my staff. That makes sense. With Marcus, it's at a different level of how he gauges being a good guy. I like that. It's Notre Dame. You should always have that as a consideration. I guess I'm saying because the way Marcus presents himself, I think he's an exceptional gauge and judge of those kind of guys you would want around our Notre Dame guys, teaching them to be men and better football players. So I fully trust Marcus in that capacity because it's a natural gift that he has. So that's number one. Here's where it gets exciting to me. I was told that the number two thing is, one is, are you a good guy? Two is, are you willing to get your butt out there on a plane and go recruit every damn day? That is 1A, 1B, what this guy looks for if he's got to hire somebody. What kind of guy are they? Are you willing to recruit hard? Are you? And if you're not, or even if you say you are, but he doesn't feel like you really are, I don't think Marcus is interested. I love hearing the reporting that is one of his chief one or two concerns. You got to be willing to recruit or you're not going to be on the Notre Dame staff. I absolutely love that approach. And what I love about it is, one, there's no miscommunication about the expectations. Marcus makes it very clear when he's talking to all these people exactly what he expects of them when it comes to recruiting, and there's no exceptions. Here's what I love about this part two. The second thing I love about this dynamic is Marcus leads by example in this way. He is not asking these guys to do things he thinks are below him because he's got that coach's desk at the Goog. That's not what's going on, and that is a big deal. Think about the dynamic. Marcus is out of his mind insane with the recruiting effort himself. You can't get hired on as an assistant and then know Marcus has 80 things to do every day, every hour. You have half as much, and you're not willing to get on a plane and go see a kid or their family or go to their basketball game to show your support. Like, you don't have that out if you're on the Notre Dame staff because the head guy's out working everybody. It sets the most premier golden example of what it should look like on the recruiting trail when Marcus is doing it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But that is one thing I did learn over the weekend are his priorities going through filling these roles that have become available. What kind of guy are you? And are you willing to recruit? And if those two things check out, then we get further down the line of your experience and can you provide this team with what it needs right now? Or, on offense, can you cover some of the stuff Marcus isn't an expert on, even though he's a head guy, defensive guy? Then you get into all that other stuff to see if a guy's a fit. But only after they're a good guy you could trust to be around our guys and pull in the same direction the operation. and you know they're willing to go recruit or don't even come here because it's not going to work out. You're going to be here 1 year and you're out. I love that. Okay. That's Marcus. And I love everything about it. So I'm on you with this. Here we go. Luke Collins. We got a few phone calls. We'll get there in 1 minute. Good morning, John. I hope the vacation was a nice break from the stressful life of being a Notre Dame fan. The change of scenery was, but going on vacation means I was with my dad and my brother every day for like a week and a half, and they're built the same way I am with some of this stuff. So it's hard to totally get away from it. And right when I was in Florida the first week, the offensive coordinator thing was still a thing. We were just coming off Jack's email. Like, there was a lot of instability there. I'm feeling a little better. I think we're over that hump. I'm starting to calm down a little bit, which is honest, genuinely not easy for me to do. It's not in my nature to be calm. I'm always worked up about something. So, but I feel like we're getting there. Andrew Gilmore. Think it's all about the rep count. Is Buckner really going to split the first team reps? Is Tyree even getting running back reps, or do they have him as a gadget? Several highly recruited linebackers need to get first team reps. Andrew, this is a very, very, very solid outlook on some things you would want to see this spring, and I agree with them. The quarterback thing's very interesting to me. I wonder, too, how you're going to split those reps. Is it literally 50-50? Everybody's got a shot at this. Nobody's coming in with an edge, and we go from there? Or is there pressure that if they think Hartman's going to have that job, they want to get him integrated in here right away out of that mesh and whatever and get him going, and you got to give 60-40 focus to that? I don't know, but it's very interesting to see. And then what does that do to the framework of Buckner? If it's, you should always want to compete no matter how many reps you get or whatever. But I just wonder what you see out of that, if it's fairly equal or split time or whatever. The other thing is, I thought last year was an important blue and gold game to be at, to be there to support Marcus. And it was really the first time we see him on field as in charge of the whole operation. So I felt last spring was a big deal in a lot of ways. And then it happened, and I was like, maybe it isn't that big of a deal. Like, our quarterback fell down the stairs. We got guys that are out with knee issues now. And we didn't really see that much passing because Buckner fell down the stairs, and then you had Pine and all that. It was great to be there and support Marcus beginning this journey on the field. But I look back on it and kind of laughed. There is a lot to see this year. There is so much new to see. All the new staff. Imagine this, you guys. Imagine this. You could have more than one quarterback. You're really excited to see what they're going to do in the blue and gold game. I know what you're saying, John. This is wild. But I am not used to going into one of those scrimmages and being like, I am genuinely intrigued, and not only intrigued, genuinely intrigued and excited to see not one, but multiple of Notre Dame's quarterbacks and see what they got going on. There is a lot to watch, and I'm excited. I don't know if you guys are going to the blue and gold. Here's my plan. I plan on going as long as the weather's nice. Like, if it's on TV and it's 30 degrees and sleeting and 40-mile-an-hour wind, I'm not doing it. But if the weather's decent, I'm going to be there because there's a lot to see and a lot to feel, and I want to be a part of it again. Jay Lehman, good to see you, Jay. Good morning. August is coming quickly. I cannot wait. Man, we just have a long time. It's so that burn in the summer, like that late May through June, it's just like I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then I'm telling you, 4th of July is always the one. I always end up sitting there somewhere with a beer, watching fireworks on the 4th of July weekend. And I say, this is it, because I know that's about a month away, and then you're into practice, and then it's off to the regular season, and we're off to the races. So 4th of July is always my delineation point. Dr. John, good morning, troops. A lovely 10 degrees here at the entrance to Montana's Paradise Valley. Who's that a paradise for? A polar bear? That's not my idea of paradise, Dr. John. Maybe for a polar bear, a wolf that thrive in the winter. Angela Rudiger, good morning. And a little birdie told me it might be Angela's birthday. So happy birthday to you, Angela. I value your friendship more than you'll ever know. And then there's my brother. I mean, I guess he's okay too. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, Andrew. You know that. Andrew's just probably glad I'm out of Florida. It's a lot. You would probably get used to not being around me anymore when you move out of Illinois and you're in Florida. And then I barge into town with my family, and then you got to deal with me. It can't be the easiest thing. So, Andrew, you got to see me, and now I'm out of your way. I'll see you again in mid-June or whenever we're coming. All right, we got another good one from Andrew Gilmore. Almost caught up with the chats. We're gonna get into this, okay? Andrew, with little traditional DN depth, it seems like Freeman is going to put in his 3-3-5 defense with no modifications. How do we feel about that? The 3-3-5 works in the Big 12, but does it against Ohio State? I don't know if I'm super traditional or out of touch with modern schematics. I don't love the 3-3-5. I don't love setting up being lighter up front intentionally, but I know that there's like sub packages with this where you bring that 5 guy of the 3-3-5 up. So then you're playing with that nickel, and then I don't know. Like, I don't know. It makes me a little uncomfortable with the idea that you're agreeing to start out light up front. But then everybody will tell you that's one of the benefits in a 3-3-5 is you can move the back end of that around to come up and run stuff or do whatever you want to do. And again, a lot of this depends on the bodies. Notre Dame can't get run on defensively first and foremost. That's number one. Cannot get ran on. That is number one chief concern on defense without fail, no matter what. If you're not able to stop the run, you're not able to stop anything else, you're back on your heels. No. And that's one of my concerns is that Notre Dame isn't beefy enough up front and have a rotation of beef up front to be able to hold that point on the line. That makes everything else harder. I feel good about the secondary. The linebackers, there's a lot of stars by the names and talent that they underperformed last year, and I don't know what the personnel is going to look like this year, what they're going to do. I need that group to get better. Defensively up front, you got to hold up to the run to make anything else matter, basically is what I'm saying. And the other issue with this is I could see a scenario where Notre Dame is weak up front, and they're still undefeated going into Ohio State. And then that's when you're going to realize they're weak up front. Like when I run my mind through possibilities here practically, that's one of them that you get by a lot of these weeks until the biggest games and then they lean on you and then you're in trouble. A perfect example of this is it's very, very upsetting to me. It might actually be one of the top most upsetting things of last year was the way USC ran it on Notre Dame. The one thing I thought Notre Dame would be able to do is slow some of that down and make Williams throw the ball to beat him. Turns out USC went in there and did whatever they wanted. And Notre Dame's inability to get off the field on third downs and stop the run in early downs hand Williams to Heisman. It was ultimately offensive to me. It was the ultimate affront to everything I stand for. These pretty boy USC LA guys, and this kid's just going to throw it around all night and beat Notre Dame. They bullied us. And I'm still not over it, okay? That can't happen again. But my fear would be you're going to be able to get by with this for a lot of the year. The big three, you're not going to, and then you're going to have a problem. So good concerns need to be needs to be shored up. But I've heard other podcasts debating this 3-3-5 or not. And does it depend on the bodies? Might dictate you have to do something you're not. That wouldn't be ideal for this year because of the bodies that you have. And I don't know what you do about that at this point. So I don't know. Here we go. I like it too, John. Means I could blow off work for a couple hours. I'm not encouraging that. Notre Dame 2164. What's up, John? Hope you had a good vacation. Yeah, it was nice. We did SeaWorld. We did Disney World. I made it out to talk about it, believe it or not. Oh, here we go. Jonathan, really bad winter, but hopefully the players stayed focused and are ready to get to work. In a lot of ways, I think these players are more resilient than somebody like I am, and it actually affects them every day. But they're on a mission. They know who's bought in. They believe in Marcus. They believe in each other. It's me in my own head that I sit here and worry because that's what I do. And I love Notre Dame. And the other thing is, too, and after having some conversations over the weekend, I think a part of why I made such a big deal about the offensive coordinator situation is I have a very high loyalty factor to Marcus Freeman, a guy that's this genuine and is putting this amount of effort into everything he's doing at Notre Dame. That is what I've been begging for a decade and wasn't getting. This guy's doing it, and I see it and I feel it. He's doing everything he can to put us in a great position. And I am over invested in that succeeding for him. And I just want to make sure that if it does, it's with us and nowhere else. But I admit I have a undying loyalty to Marcus because of his work ethic and the way he carries himself. And those are the two biggest things to me in a Notre Dame coach, that you're a good representative in the way you treat people and talk to people and handle things. Kelly was for a while and then he wasn't. And also me knowing when I put my head on my Irish leprechaun pillow at the end of the evening, that I lay down to know the people in charge of this are doing everything they can every day to bring us closer to winning playoff games. I did not feel that with Kelly because I knew it wasn't the case. I do feel it with Marcus. So I admit I am loyal as the day is long to this guy, and I want him supported 100%. John, are you ready for the offseason to be over yet? Yeah, but we have a long time. Andrew Gilmore losing the special teams coordinator hurt. I'm still upset over it. But we can't rely on blocked punts to win games. Those are so rare. Well, they weren't rare for us last year. Like, that's the idea. Listen, people told me I was totally overdoing my reaction show to Mason leaving and all that, and you need to get a grip, and it was cringe, and John, you're over emotional and all that. Chill out. Here's the thing, you guys. It isn't going to be a chill out. This isn't the show for chilling out. If I was chilled out, I'd have 10 viewers and they'd all be family if I was chilled out. That's not my natural personality or delivery. And it's never gonna be. Like, when I got those messages, this is cringe, you need to chill out on how worked up you are. That's never gonna happen. You're asking me to change my personality. Whatever you see come on this screen is not an act. Ask the people in the chat that grew up with me. Ask Rudy, ask my brother, ask Pat. People that have known me, people in the chat that have met me in real life at games. Spent time with me at the Airbnb when I had the open house for Clemson. Said, anybody, bring your beer. Come on by. We got food. Ask those people. What you get is me. Is it too much sometimes? I'm sure it is. Is it annoying? It's probably. But nobody can say it isn't genuine. So people are going to have to take it or leave it when it comes to how I immediately react to bad Notre Dame news. It's going to be dramatic. I have a flair for the dramatic, if you haven't learned. That's just my delivery. I'm never going to apologize for it. Take it or leave it. Like, there are a lot of other shows that give you Notre Dame information in a monotone tone. If that's what you want for your day, go for it. I'm not telling anybody they have to consume my content. I know it's a bit much. Oh, boy. Look at this. Adam, good morning, Adam Dowling. Good to see you. Jonathan Annan, player you're most excited to see this spring. Mine would be J.D. Price. We were speaking about the blue and gold game last year. That was one of the top guys. When you sit there, he flashed right away. Like, flash right away. He gets a carry. You go, oh, my God. I lean over to my dad. I think that's the young guy. And then he got injured, but he flashed right away. That's a big deal to me when you have a guy that young and he gets a chance in the blue and gold game and it flashes that he looks different and it feels different. You know that when you see it, it isn't a measurement. I felt it. I'm like, oh, that's different. And I like he. I like he a lot. And then he got injured. So it'd be beautiful. Beautiful. Ride or die, John. You can't get rid of us. Why? I don't want to get rid of you guys. Some of you are going to get sick of me. Oh, man. Trust in Freeman, distrust in the administration, Mikey Pohl says. I'm trying to feel better about all that. I've had some conversations with some people behind the scenes that seem to feel it is in a decent place. That's my chief concern. But Marcus is here. I'm just going to have to admit at some point, I don't know the full story of what happened behind the scenes with the OC thing. I'm never going to know. Whatever it is, I just hope Notre Dame protects themselves from being exposed again. And then we move forward. That's all we could do. Marcus is doing it. We got to do it. I bank my worries in the back of my mind, but I can't let it paralyze me moving forward and like a dark shadow. So that's where I need to be to just be in a better place mentally with all that. Okay. Anders says, I trust Freeman to hire a good recruiter. I don't think we know yet if they can develop players. And some of that is wait and see. There's nothing you could do. Nothing you could do. Here we go. Here's some good news, some positivity by the Art Foundation. Recruit Art to watch them flip after you've got them to commit. I'm glad you bring this up, Art Foundation. This is another thing I learned over the weekend, reaching out to some of my more well-connected to the administration contacts. Notre Dame is ramping up NIL behind the scenes more than we know. And that is something that I did learn over the weekend that makes me feel pretty good about things. I was told they are building some infrastructure up. There's some hiring taking place. There's some structure being laid behind the scenes that hopefully will further Notre Dame's efforts in this regard in a Notre Dame value-driven way. It's never going to be blank checks. If it was blank checks, I wouldn't be interested because it's no longer Notre Dame football if you're doing that. And the goal of all this is for Notre Dame to win it their way with their values in that vein. So I was reassured that they know they have to get more involved in that to kind of prevent some of what happened last recruiting cycle. They're aware of that. And I was told they're working on it. That makes me feel good. So that's something I learned over the weekend that I do like. Here we go. Old Grim. I should say hello more, but I want to let you know I'm always here with you. I appreciate you, Grim. As long as you're not the Grim Reaper, I'm glad you're with me. I'm glad you're with me. Oh, we got a couple super chats. What do we got here? Happy birthday, Angela, for sure. Look at this. Man, I really appreciate that. $50 holler from Eric. You just paid for the phone lines this week, my friend. And you also just paid my phone bill from the 4-hour marathon I had Friday that went on too long to the point where I'm not sure it was good for anybody, including myself, towards the end. So maybe I learned a lesson on that one. But you just paid for that bill. Thank you. Sam Hartman is going to light it up this year. Because of the offense, ND will be in every game, and Hartman will be in New York. Eric's on it, and I'm not just saying that because he donated me $50. If you look at where this team was starting last year, regardless of what you thought of the defense, you knew even if Buckner was healthy, it was a question mark. Even if he didn't go down when he did, it was a question mark. You didn't know what you were going to get. Then he did go down, and then you went into less of a question mark in a negative way because you just knew what you were going to get with Pine. Wasn't even a question. I knew he was limited. So in that regard, the Buckner question would have been better than the facts I knew about the Pine dynamic, right? Here's the way I'm looking at this. To me, this is on my list. We'll get into it. The two biggest areas of the offense last year that held us back is 1, quarterback, 2, wide receiver. Tight ends were good. Running backs were good. O-line, mostly good. Mostly good. Those were the two positions holding the offense back the most. And then I look at this offseason, and I believe those are the two positions on offense that got improved the most. Now, intellectually, if you've ever done debate or anything, you could come back to me and go, okay, you're saying those two were the most improved, but also they had the two with the furthest to go, right? So everything isn't equal then, because I was saying the other three groups were pretty good. So yeah, make sure it makes sense. These were the most improved because they had the furthest to go. Either way you want to go with that intellectually, I look at it as I feel pretty good about the O-line. I feel good about tight ends. Yeah, losing Mayer hurts. Tight end is now a position in Notre Dame that almost borderline takes care of itself in a lot of ways. And that is a compliment to what Notre Dame's built there as far as the pipeline of talent and what these guys end up being. I'm going to feel fine there. And the running back group is like a bonanza of riches that you could deploy to do different things at different times. You could get creative. I love all that. Now you add in a quarterback who can make all the throws and some wide receiver competition and actual athletic bodies. We could be looking at a Notre Dame offense we're not used to seeing, that we've never seen in the modern era. Being able to run the ball when you want and or / need to, and also be able to throw it around. That's the Notre Dame offense we've all been begging for decades. And we might see it. We might see it. So right away off the jump, ignore your worries about the defense. Me, ignore my worries of special teams now that my guy's gone that I love. Ignore all that. This offense right away, if Hartman's the starter and he's healthy, it's light years ahead. It's light years ahead. I think Notre Dame fans might be in a weird spot some of this year where they see the offense move a whole bunch forward, and you might see a little bit of regression on that defense, largely because of the front seven. That's what I'm worried about. Wrap that around your minds, Notre Dame people. Year 2 of Freeman, and then at the defensive coordinator that got the job, and then we're going to love the offense more than the defense. It's Notre Dame. Like, sometimes things don't make sense, but it's the way it is. I can't thank you enough, Eric, for the $50. That's beautiful. It means a lot. It means a lot. See, here we go. EK. If so, we're going to give up 150 on the ground weekly. It's just the number one thing that can't happen to a Notre Dame defense. If you start, especially early down runs, that happened against USC a lot. You can't let them run it up the gut on you on first and 10 for 6 yards. And then Williams, there's no pressure then. You only need 4 yards. And then you could dial up anything. They're ahead of the chains. You're behind it. It's an awful dynamic. Notre Dame's going to have to sell out to stop the run somehow. And I'm worried that we're just light up front and there aren't the bodies big enough to rotate for that disruption. On the edges is one thing, but up the middle too. It's a concern. It might be my biggest one of the year, to tell you the truth. It might be. We got a $5 holler. Appreciate it. James Delaney, 443. If you're giving me a $5 holler, I'll bring you up. Let me get through one more note. We're almost at the end of this, and you'll come up. Oh, boy. Yeah. Matt says, John and chill out go together like water and oil. I'm just a wound tight guy. There's always something. Why do you think I'm skinny? I just stress. It doesn't matter if I eat or not. I just worry about everything. It's healthy. Keeps me in shape. Oh, man. Brian, is there any reason to get excited about recruiting anymore? Cash is king until I'm proven wrong. I believe, let me put it to you this way, and then we'll get to the calls. I'm almost at the end of the chats, I promise. Is there any reason to get excited about recruiting? Here's what I've started to kind of feel. I am excited to know factually that Brian Kelly's excuses of not recruiting elitely at Notre Dame are not accurate. Brian Kelly literally got in front of the podium and told us, you're shopping down a different aisle. He said that multiple times. You're shopping down a different aisle, building in those excuses to not have elite high-level classes by putting it out to all of us publicly. You know, Notre Dame's limiting here, and we all know that, and you got to keep that in mind. So he says we're shopping down a different aisle. Freeman comes in, even though we didn't land Dante and the safety and Keon Keeley, Bowen, he didn't land those guys. But they were all able to get into Notre Dame and were in the fold either as commits or silent commits. That right there is encouraging to me because it tells me Freeman was able to go find guys that are 5-star guys and they could get into Notre Dame. Where's the different aisle, Kelly? That's not a different aisle. That's your aisle. The fact that the NIL took them later is a different issue than the main one of disproving Kelly that there isn't these top 4 and 5-star guys that could also get into Notre Dame. He wanted you to think that was a bigger issue than it is. Now, is there a certain group of kids down south that Notre Dame's not an option? The grades aren't good. Yep, I'm sure there is. But it isn't as exaggerated as Kelly made it seem, and Freeman's proving that. So that should make us all feel better, knowing that those guys aren't off market for us or unavailable right off the bat. We know that's not true. The second part of this is, how does Notre Dame modernize all this to avoid getting poached and being held hostage the 11th hour of any recruiting year? And that is a part of them knowing they got to get NIL more out front and more structured and put together. Like, I've been reassured they're aware of that and they're working towards it. In regards to getting excited, verbals, nope, that's over. Even last year, I got into it, fell for it, looking at us being 1 or 2 all summer and all, and I can't do it anymore. It's bad for my health, physically and mentally, to get bought in, believe those are our guys for 6 months, and then at the last second, they're not. So I cannot get excited about verbal commitments other than Mason Plummer tells me this, my recruiting guy. John, if you get a verbal, you are the leader in the clubhouse. Look at it that way. At that moment, your school's leading for the services, but nothing's a done deal. So that's how I look at it. Things are changing. I'm an old guy. I don't know. I'm an old guy. I just wish a verbal commitment meant I'm going there. What do I know, though? Angela, John is John, and there's no changing him. That's what I love. Yeah, but you got problems. Like, you got problems for thinking that. I love you for it, but geez, I feel bad. Oh, man. There we go, Matt, doing a little promo for me. Take a second and hit that like button, subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Appreciate it. Hart Foundation, the scariest part is that with no beef up front to eat up the blocks or blockers, it frees up the O-lineman. That's what I'm worried about. That Hart Foundation, that's what I'm picturing in my mind. That exact dynamic is what I don't like. I just don't want them to feel like they have to set us up in that, only to set us up to be in a worse position. It's just tricky up front, and I think it's a short-term solution because of the recruiting. But for this year, we're going to have to work our way around that. Listen, it would be great if the offense really took off, scored a bunch of points. Then you could make the argument that if the offense averages 7 more points a week or 10 more a week because we have a better quarterback and more athletes at wide receiver, whatever. I like that, and it does relieve some of the pressure on the Notre Dame defense. If the offense scores more, obviously, they have more margin to play with. If they score more, they're not on the field all the time, getting worn down and all that. If we're putting together drives, you could get by like this, kind of. But the ideal world is one that we haven't had in Notre Dame land a long time, which is where all 3 units of the team are trending up and having those great years together. That has been a problem for Notre Dame for the last 20 years. You have some of these great defenses and the offense can't do anything. And then the other way around, like in, 15, you had a really exciting, a big arm quarterback and a good offense, and the defense lets you down. Just once. It'd be nice for everything to line up in the right direction. Even 2012, we were playing for the championship. The defense gave up 9.5 points a game, and the offense could barely score enough field goals to win. Like, even in a championship title game year, I knew the offense was garbage. They did just enough to get by on the backs of that defense, giving up under 10 points a game the whole year. 10. It was like 9.6. Unbelievable effort. You didn't have an offense that could do diddly poo. And so you end up in a spot. Just once, it'd be nice for everything to line up on the positive one time. But I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Look at this. $10 holler. Here's my tax return. Thanks for your content. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. All right. We got a few calls. I hit some of what I wanted to talk about. We could get into the staff later or do it a little different, what I wanted to do. We have people that want to call. I'm not going to make them wait. Let's hear where they want to go. Maybe I'll come back to some of my stuff or just do it on a different show. Nothing wrong with that either. 443 donated. He's got things to do this morning. We're going to put him up first. 443, good morning.
Good morning, John. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I feel like Notre Dame's about to hit a stabilization period this spring, get the new staff acclimated, and go into spring ball positive. That's where I want to be. Where are you coming from this at?
I am coming from a field of absolute positivity. I am absolutely positive, John. Mike Bray is finally gone from the basketball program. Jack's going to have to make a hire, so his hands are going to be out of the football program, which means Marcus Freeman is going to be able to cook. He's going to be able to do things without interference. We're going to be able to go this spring without any sort of cloud hanging over the heads of this football team, except for the whole, we were apparently too cheap to pay a buyout of $2.8 million to Utah.
I have analyzed that situation a million different ways to Sunday, and I need to find some peace with it just for me to be able to get by day to day. I am not certain what happened, where the mistakes were exactly made. I just hope that Notre Dame looks at their process and tries to avoid whatever it is that made it up here, even like we didn't have our stuff together. I just need them to prevent that moving forward. I have been reassured by multiple people that I talked to that were on campus with some of the administrative members last weekend and late last week. And they told me all these guys are saying they love Marcus, they support Marcus, and that we're all pulling in the same direction. So some people are going to believe that, some aren't. But I've been reassured that they all love Marcus and the way he operates.
Yeah, and it's good that they love Marcus and the way he operates, but that is still, how do you let that get leaked like that?
That's my issue.
Incredibly damaging, and it's a bad look for anybody who wants to come in after.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Marcus retires after 40 years at Notre Dame.
Yeah, and see that you're hitting on a lot of the things existentially that upset me about this too. 612-618, you're coming up next. Hang with me. You're hitting on them. And so those are what we need to avoid. It was a bad look, whatever. I just hope they refine the operation. That's also another reason.
That's fine. In terms of actual spring ball.
Yeah, what do you want to see?
I'm looking for the offense to show me something. I'm looking for Hartman to show me the kind of arm that they say that he had at Wake Forest.
Yep.
I'm looking for this new front seven to be just as good as the front seven from last year. I'm looking for receivers that can actually catch a ball.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that.
It's wild, isn't it?
I'm having enough issue with the Ravens too.
Yeah, and here's what I like. Okay, so it seems like the staff is now settled in, and that's another thing that were on my notes to discuss. We had some movement here with guys going in and out, Biaggi in, Rudolph in, Parker in, Gadugli or whatever you pronounce, not the Guglielmi, that's different. This is Gugu DG or whatever. So we have some guys moving in. I don't know. Goog is something different. But what I like is we were in a position to maybe be down 2 or 3 more assistants. But like Stuckey stayed, O'Leary stayed, Mickens. We could have been in a position where you had 3 more guys to hire. And then that turns into a red flag where you're like, what is going on here? That 7 or 8 guys are moving out. That's weird. I'm glad that didn't happen. But here's what I like.
And just another thought.
Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off. There was another little thought that I had of it. I wanted to call you and talk about this like a couple of weeks ago. We didn't get to my call because of time constraints, but you're an alumnus of Notre Dame. You're a former Notre Dame quarterback. You're the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. Maybe you thought you were going to be the head coach after Brian Kelly left, maybe not. I'm not going to speak to that piece. You agreed to a lateral move to go anywhere.
Now, we're going to have a disagreement about what lateral means. Like, you have to tell me, my response to that would be, what part of this is lateral? If it's in title alone, it is lateral by definition. He leaves offensive coordinator here, goes to Alabama, and he has that job title. I believe it's lateral only in title alone. The access this gives you to 5-star talent that makes it easier for your offense to look good, that makes it easier for you to go to the NFL or get a college head job. I cannot argue Alabama's in a better position to provide Reese that than Notre Dame is right now. And so for that reason, it's lateral in title, but in practicality, it's probably the best move for Reese to further his career. And I'm a Notre Dame guy, but I'm being honest.
Yeah, like I think I've made my peace with that move because I'm looking at it from that different perspective of, okay.
Did you love his offenses at Notre
Freeman,
Dame? Like, were you happy with what the offenses looked like in Notre Dame, or did you want more? Or were you surprised? That Saban wanted him? Like, that's another. Were you surprised Saban went after him hard, or like where do you value Reese?
What do I value? I value, like, I'm honestly very surprised that Saban wanted Tommy Reese because our offense was very anemic. It looked like Buckner took forever to get the plays off. And that's not something that we really can afford to be as an offense. In that respect, I'm really surprised that anybody really high caliber wanted him. But I was told that he was some sort of savant by the announcers. I don't see where the savantness comes from.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out because I know one thing. Nick Saban has no patience for assistants that aren't getting the job done. So we're going to find out really quickly. And here's what I'm most interested for. Wrap your mind around this. I am most interested for Tommy Reese's Alabama offense against Brian Kelly and LSU. That is gotta watch, can't miss TV programming. My head's gonna pop off and explode when I see Tommy Reese versus BK SEC style. And by the way, I hope Tommy hangs 70 on him.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I really like. I mean, I'm thinking about this. If I know that Nick Saban, like, the joke is that the Alabama assistants room is the Nick Saban school for coaches who can't coach good. I know that. I'm looking at the trajectory of a Mike Locksley. He was coach at Maryland, then he got fired, then he became the Alabama offensive guy under Saban. Then he went back to Maryland as the head coach, and he's really turned that program around.
Yeah.
And maybe if Marcus Freeman, I don't think he's going to flop. I want Marcus Freeman not to flop because I like him. I love him. I think he's great. If for some reason either Marcus Freeman goes or doesn't do very well, or hopefully gets hired as the next coach of the Baltimore Ravens, Tommy Rees will have learned a thing or two from Nick Saban for how to run a football program, and he comes back.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting how this all connects and comes full circle. So let me ask this. How do you feel about where Notre Dame ended up at offensive coordinator? We have the issues behind the scenes, whatever. I'm not getting into all that again. However, we ended up with Parker, internal hire, knows our guys, values tight ends, values the running game. I'm of the opinion that might just work out fine. And that's not really my issue. My issue is the sloppiness behind the scenes. But do you look at that as just a buddy hire or like the last resort, or are you excited about it? I want to give the guy a clean slate and hope we see some exciting offense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I am more like, if Parker was the hire and we didn't have all of this drama, I honestly be excited about it because
that's the rub. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of all of this is how things are framed, how they're presented, the way it's the perspective.
Yeah, I am really,
right.
I'm actually excited about the hire of Parker. If you look at Michael Mayer, that's all you really need to look at.
Yeah, and there's some young tight ends here that we're going to have other ones that are good. I'm not worried about that. So I don't know. But this spring, I'm looking to see I'm looking to see an offense come to life. I realize it's a spring game and spring practices. You're not going to roll out your full playbook, but you have a guy now that could throw the ball around and get that going. And you got a lot of young wide receivers that are ready to compete and want to be in the mix. It would serve Notre Dame well to know that they got a good O-line and run game and start beefing up those passing routes, expand that tree. Let's get more modern.
Yes, and I really am looking forward to seeing how Notre Dame plays against Ohio State. I'm not, we're going to have a crack at Ohio State this year. I want to see how our football team does in these sort of tense situations coming up this year. And I'm just giving you a warning. If the basketball team, if the new basketball head coach is a certain basketball coach, I'm going to be calling and I'm going to be ranting about that.
I'm not up on all the basketball rumors. I'm open to dealing with it, but I am not up on all those rumors. So we're going to have to see how that goes. And until then, you can meet Mike Bray at the linebacker. Have yourself a night.
The guy that I would rant about the guy that I wanted to rant about was not one of the rumors, thank goodness. But it's a little scary considering that the guy that I would rant about is a former Georgia Tech assistant.
Gotcha. Okay. I follow you.
All right. Let's just say that he should be fired by my alma mater, Loyola, not the one in Chicago.
Right.
For poor performance. All right, John, I'm going to let you go. You said you had multiple callers, so I'm going to let you get to those guys.
Beautiful, but thanks for calling. Thanks for the donation. Glad I caught you today. Call again.
Thank you.
Take care. All right. Nice donator there. I like that. Shooting all over the map. I like that. I don't get a lot of basketball action here. All right. Dr. John, you waited patiently. It is your time to see the other doctor.
Good morning, sir.
Where are you and why is
I
it
got
so
a couple-
cold? Where are you and why is it so cold there, man?
I'm in Livingston, Montana, and it's winter.
Oh man, you are just all over the place.
Yeah.
Man, that's brutal. We're
Yeah,
starting
well,
to.
I'm here.
Woo!
I'm here for the duration now. I'm sorry, what, John?
Until what? Until spring, it gets nice. You go back to Minnesota, or where do you go?
Well, no, this is my home now. I've got 2 daughters out here, and I've got a daughter and son in Minnesota. So, yeah, I'll probably be wandering down that way beginning of June or something, just spend some time there. But I got a few housekeeping things to
Stay
take care
warm.
of. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's go through them.
I will try. First of all, before I get into Notre Dame stuff, thank you for the kind words in your email.
Right back at you.
The other housekeeping thing, happy birthday, Angela.
Yep.
So, but anyway, getting into, by the way, I love those shows that you do with Pat. I think that's a hell of a lot of fun. So,
man, John, you know what?
He stokes you up.
The issue is we grew up so similarly with Notre Dame families and the way we think about it. And we've been friends almost 25 years now. I know how to wind him up. He knows how to wind me up. We know exactly where we each fall on every single big picture issue with everything just from our collective Notre Dame lives. So when him and I do it, there's a lot of rhythm back and forth because we just know exactly where the other one's thinking and going and how they're going to do it. Like, there's just a lot of familiarity there and people are having fun with it. John, here's the other thing with that. He's got a family, I got a family, whatever, life gets busy. It's a way for him and I to reconnect. So like, yeah, we're not out at a bar drinking or whatever, but it's a way for him and I to bond again. And so it's been beautiful and I'm glad to do it. It's been fun.
Well, I think you ought to make it a rule that each of you has a brew in hand when you do that.
I don't know. That might be dangerous. That might be dangerous. And his name is Cotter. So now my thing is, how can I integrate the Welcome Back Cotter theme song to the introduction? Like, I'm trying to prop my guy up a little bit here.
Hey, moving on to Notre Dame stuff. What do you know about this Biaggi, and has he been hired?
So, I mean, I believe he's hired and that's a done deal. When I've looked at the statistics, and I'll be honest, I did not manually do this. Other podcasters have been talking about it. The last 2 stops, the overall special teams numbers were not that good. Okay. Over the 100 in the ranking system overall, there's only 130 whatever teams. Overall, those numbers have not been that good, but there were individual areas where they did do good. But overall, some of the numbers, if you just look at that, are a little rough. Here's what makes me feel a little better about that. However, special teams largely, the head coach has a lot to do with resources, time. How much time do you get in practice? Is the head guy going to let you take starters off defense and run them out there to get a punt, not worry about them getting hurt and wasting their energy? Like, the head coach's prioritization or not of special teams in practice has a lot to do with how it goes. Freeman's all about aggressive special teams. He's still going to make the defensive frontline guys available for those units. I am hopeful his energy towards that will kind of help that stay in a good place. I don't want to overdo it. Mason's a loss to me and it hurts.
Well, I would hope that he looked at Biaggi as a guy that can fit into the culture that Mason established, because I mean, what a turnaround that guy made on that team. It's amazing. I saw somebody in chat early on say, that block punts don't win games, but man, they can set a tone like they did in that Clemson game. I mean, from that point on, it was like, you can't beat us.
Yeah, it's just, and for me, it's about the mindset too. Like I'll give you an example. I was told that when Mason was there last year in practice, when they practiced punting, every one of those scenarios had the defense in all out punt block mode all the time. They never practiced a punt where everybody just relaxes, they snap it, the guy kicks it, they blow the whistle. I was told they go after the punt every single time in practice. And then that does two things. The defense is predisposed to just be in aggression mode all the time. And the offense unit knows we have to run a perfect punt operation, can't have any mistakes or it's getting blocked. Like that kind of pressure in practice made it easier to do in the games. I need that kind of aggression to maintain.
Yeah, and you're right. It really does set a tone for the defense. And boy, Mason, I don't know what magic he worked, but he certainly
I know
knew what he was talking about. It'll be interesting to see what he can do with the Colts. So.
I'm really happy for him. It's a great promotion. Like the NFL's the big leagues. I'm happy for him. I am not only the results, John, like the statistical results of how much havoc we caused, but just his spirit, the way they zoom over on the camera and he's jumping up and down. Like for a guy wound like I am, I love that energy out of the special teams guy. He took it so personally that his unit did everything they could to win that night. And I love that. So I wish him the best, but I'm hurt over it. I love the guy, the vibe, the results, the energy, all of it. I loved it.
Yeah, to see him react on the sidelines was a joy. That was fun.
And it was pure joy. It was just pure love of what's going on. Like, I just love everything about it. All right, John, let me move this forward.
Yeah.
What are some of your spring priorities? Like, what are you looking to read about when the beat writers, the first couple weeks of spring ball, write an article and go, we got a block of time. They let the media in. Here's what we saw from the offense, the defense, whatever. Like any concerns you have or any particular interests you want to see?
Well, I guess what I want to look at more than anything else is the wide receiver core.
Yep.
Can they beat somebody? Can they go deep? I mean, Hartman can throw the ball deep.
Yep.
And now it amounts to, are these new kids what we think they are? So that's the thing I guess I'd be looking at in the spring game.
Here's what I like,
John. Speaking
John.
of the spring game, aren't you happy that the spring game is going to be on Peacock?
Don't even get me cranked up on that. Don't get me cranked up on that. Don't do it to me. Don't. I'm hoping the weather's nice enough that I'm there and I don't have to worry about any animals delivering my programming, okay? I'm hoping to be there. So then I don't have to worry about that dumb streaming. And then, John, here's a practical issue with the streaming. A real practical issue. Other than me wanting to be like entering Grandma Kennedy's house in 1993, you put it on Channel 5 and there's Notre Dame, okay? I'm over it. Here's the practical implication of this is when the games are on Peacock, there is a delay of minutes, not seconds, between what happens and when you see it on that feed. It ruins all of my Twitter thing where you're reacting live to what's going on in the game. That engagement is when my Twitter account's most active is on game days. You don't get any of that because the guys in the booth are tweeting it live. We already see on Twitter what happens. And then 2 minutes later, I see the play on the field. So it kills all the social media following for the game. Like, I know that's a me problem, but it does ruin the flow of that for everybody who follows the game on Twitter.
Didn't I tell you at one point that Twitter is not the real world anyway?
It's not. It's not. And more people need to realize that. And sometimes I need to realize it too, that is the fringes. You got to realize everything you see on Twitter, you agree with, don't agree with, or in the middle. It's a unique group that's active on Twitter every day, and I'm a part of it. And if people want to say it's a bad thing, I'm probably a part of that too. I probably am. Hey, can I tell you something about these wide receivers real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
I believe that unit went from what was probably the top 1 or 2 weakest, maybe in the whole program last year. I think in another year or two, it could be a borderline A unit. I think there's a lot of competition. There's going to be young guys that want to play. And when you have that, you just get better because people are competing. You're not like, I'm the only one that my legs aren't broken. I know I'm going to play. The competition breeds more of that. You're going to have younger guys. You're going to have guys with a little more experience, all battling. They're going to be re-energized because there's a quarterback they know can get them the ball. John, think of that as a wide receiver. I'm going to work my butt off, run a perfect route, shed my guy, get open. Can the guy even get me the ball? That would be frustrating. Now they know they're going to get the ball thrown to them with chances. I think that group could really surprise us and take off.
Oh, I want to see that in the spring game.
Are you nervous about the defense, John? John, are you nervous about the defense at all, or am I over worrying on that front?
Well, you over worry about most everything, and of course, I'm old enough to just put it aside and just try to relax.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you're right. My blood pressure is the exact opposite of yours. They're worried about mine being too low. So
we'll average them out. We'll both live forever. We'll average them out. You and I, we'll just both live forever.
Yeah, that's possible. Hey, what do you hear about Carr? Anything?
I understand everything's fine. And he went to A&M with a 7-on-7 team, and he did that at Washington too. And that's a part of like the circuit those guys go on with their little 7-on-7 team doing all that. And I'm hearing there's nothing to worry about. Other people have said, I don't know, the guy used to post pro Notre Dame stuff on Twitter all the time, and now that's few and far between. I don't know what's going on there, all that. But I have not heard there's anything that I need to really worry about. And that A&M trip was blown up into more than what it was by the A&M beat guys who wanted it to seem like it was a one-on-one recruiting visit when that wasn't exactly the dynamic. So when I have inquired, I've been told not to worry, but I'm always going to worry. So whatever.
Yeah. That's why I don't bother to tell you don't worry, because you're going to anyway.
I know I am.
Anyway, I was thinking about talent like that. If you've got the confidence in your abilities, you don't care about who else is there. You're going to come in and compete. And even if you are the number 2 for your career, if you're confident in your abilities as far as the NFL is concerned, you're probably going to make it if you're good enough. I'm thinking about a guy that plays wide receiver for the Vikings, Adam Thielen. Are you familiar with his story?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, he's been kicking your Bears around pretty good. That's good. Sorry,
God, who hasn't? Who hasn't?
I take that back.
Who hasn't? I feel bad for Justin Fields, man. The guy's been a punching bag since he's been here. Gosh, just keep him upright would be a good start.
But, if you've got the talent and you honestly judge your talent. I mean, this kid went at the time Minnesota State in Mankato, Minnesota. Nobody even sniffed a draft look at him, as far as I know. He walks on at the Vikings and becomes an all-pro. So there's a guy that figured, hey, I've got it. I don't care if nobody drafted me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go show him what I got. And he's got a lot. So.
Yeah. And you know what that's making me laugh at, John?
Well, anyway.
John, I'm laughing because I see these reports from the combine. Oh, I don't know. I got questions about Michael Mayer. He might be a little too slow. I don't know if you should waste a pick on that guy. People are looking to just question and doubt anybody. And the other thing with these Notre Dame guys at least you're getting a good guy that's like not going to ever be a locker room problem or a detriment. You're not going to get a phone call at 3 a.m. that Mike Mayer, is arrested. Like, there's a benefit to Notre Dame guys in that way as well. And that's why there are certain NFL teams that like Notre Dame guys that have more than others and look for them. It eliminates the off the field headaches largely. I can't guarantee it. But it's just so funny to me. All the body of work of Michael Mayer, and I have people questioning whether he's going to be a good NFL guy. Like, this lead up to the draft is exhausting in a lot of ways. Not to mention the fact that all the coverage in Chicago is about what are they going to do with that number 1 pick? What could you trade out and get for it and all that? But, it's just wild. So I don't know.
Okay, moving on to my last subject. Have you changed your mind about going to Ireland? I know how keen you are on watching Navy.
I want to go. There's people in this chat right now that are going and want me to go. We were going to go, I believe, in 2020. And then obviously the virus canceled all that. So we were all set up to do it. I believe it was one of those years. So it's something that I got to, I'm going to have to get with the family and see if they're serious. Because if we do it, it'd be my parents and the full boat. So I don't know. I would love to, but I'm frustrated because we had it all set up once and then it fell through.
Well, I dealt with the same thing, John. And as I told you, we're booked. I've got my, application in for the lottery for 4 tickets, and a Notre Dame buddy, his son, has put in for 3 more because we got 7 people going. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm in the middle of planning the week after with my brother. We're going to go to Northwest Ireland, play a little golf on some of those lesser known courses. And
oh, that'd be, man, that's going to be a great trip. You're going to have everything you need. You're going to be in Ireland. You're going to get your Notre Dame fix and then get to golf at all these link style traditional courses. This is beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's we're really looking forward to it. And anyway, would love to see you over there. But somewhere along the line, before I buy the big one, we've got to get together for a brew.
Yep. You let me know when you're in the Chicago area. I don't care what suburb you're in, wherever, I'll come to you. So you let me know when you're going to be around. I'll make the effort to come out near you. Hey, if the family's not scared of me yet, bring them. You could bring them if they're not scared of me. But if it's just you, we could do that too, man. I'm good for whatever you want to do.
Okay. What's the status of the Trinity at the Ohio State game? I haven't heard anything from Kent lately.
I haven't heard from Kent either. I got a feeling his job has changed, and he kind of had to change some of his day-to-day, and I have not really seen him since all that happened. So I think I got his email. I'll reach out to him. You know what he'll do? He'll probably make an effort to resurface right when we get all worked up about playing Ohio State again early next year.
Yeah. Well, my daughters and I are going to be there the week before for Central Michigan, so I may just hang out there for a while. Anyway, glad to have you back in the saddle. It's fun. Keep doing the stuff with Pat. That's a gas. So you have a great day, compadre.
Be careful what you ask for more of, John. Be careful. It'll go right to Pat's head. It'll go right to Pat's head, and that's not going to help any of this. Oh, all right, my friend. Okay, stay warm out there, and and me and Pat, we have some ideas. We have some ideas.
I got the heat up.
There you go. All right, my friend. Safe travel. See you. Oh, that's my guy, man. That is my surrogate grandfather. It's the closest thing I have to a Notre Dame grandpa still with us. 618, make it great. Sorry I made you wait.
Hey, how you doing, John?
Hey, man, it's really good to hear from you again. What's new? Happy New Year.
Yeah, same to you, man. But, yeah, man, I'm not really worried about the coaching staff, man. I'm just, let's just see how the product goes on the field first.
Yeah. It's, you know what? I think we're lucky, man. We're lucky we didn't have another 2 to 3 to 4 spots to need to hire in the middle of all we just went through. because that was talked about for a while with Golden, with O'Leary, with Mickens, with Stuckey, all of those guys I was hearing rumors about. So I'm kind of grateful we're not in a position where we have to backfill 6 or 7 or 8 roles, because that breeds some real instability. So we avoided that. And then now we just got to see what the new blend is and what they could get.
Yeah. And I was real happy to hear that the receivers coach decided he wanted to stay, and then the running back coach said, "No, I'm gonna stick around."
Yeah.
At Notre Dame as well.
Now, here's my question, though. Here's my question, though. Like, yeah, I'm relieved that those guys are staying. But then my next question is that an indicator that they'll be gone after this year? Like, is it just a 1-year thing? Because if that many people were after him already, why wouldn't there be people after him next year? Like, maybe it's just that transitory in college football now, where every year or two, these assistants shuffle in and out. Maybe that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping not, man. I hope they stick around with Notre Dame for a long time, man.
Yeah. Now let me
especially
ask.
the running back coach and the receivers coach.
I think Stuckey he inherited maybe the toughest assistant job on the staff last year, because he was walking into dealing with almost a bare cupboard and limited by what the quarterbacks could do. He went in there, recruited well. He's a good teacher, good developer. I like everything about it.
Yeah, me too, And then he's recruited really well on the receivers.
Yep. Hey, how do you feel about Parker? How do you feel about Parker moving over from tight end to offensive coordinator? What's your genuine reaction to that move?
I mean, I really didn't have one. I mean, I'm only saying time will tell, what he would do. Hopefully he do really well. I don't know, if he do really well, there's going to be people after him, or his head coaching jobs out there waiting on him. But, that's what you want off the coaching staff anyway. You want to get better opportunities, not going from Notre Dame to Alabama, going on to be a head coach, so you can move up, you can move the people up the ranks throughout the program.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know. You're muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, got you. Now you're good.
Yeah. Like, you want your coaches to have the opportunity to get better coaching jobs, not going from a college offensive coordinator job to another college offensive coordinator job. I don't care who it's for. That's almost going, that's almost going backwards. You want to be a head coach, not a coordinator. And, maybe Parker do really well. He has some offers from some head coaching jobs. That would make Notre Dame attractive at any coordinator or any position. Any position coaches. It'll make it more attractive if you getting guys getting head coaching jobs instead of going from Notre Dame as an offensive coordinator to Alabama as an offensive coordinator. I mean, we don't know what Tommy Rees is all about this year.
Yeah, you're going to find out, because he's going to have talent to work with, and it's the real deal. I'm supremely interested. That Tommy Rees Alabama versus BK LSU game is circled on my schedule. I can't wait for that. Let me ask you this as we get into spring. What do you feel most confident in with Notre Dame? And then what is maybe your biggest worry practically about the program and the team this spring? On the good side, and then maybe one thing you're worried about.
The best part is, I think, it's probably the receivers and the DBs, man. The receivers and DBs and running backs are going to be really good. I'm not saying that the quarterbacks won't, but, we got a 1-year rental, and we got a kid behind him that just stayed injured.
Yeah.
If he stick around after spring, I'm not saying that that Buckner is going to leave, but I'm just saying, like, if he ain't liking his situation, he might take off after the spring.
Yeah, and I've heard mixed reporting on that. Half the people I speak with say he loves Notre Dame. I believe he even has a sister at Notre Dame, that he loves Notre Dame. He's a Notre Dame guy. He's going to get his degree, and then if he has eligibility, maybe go do something. I don't know. And then I have other people that are like, well, if he doesn't win the job in the spring, he could transfer out and leave right away. And that's within his rights to do. And some people think he might. I don't know how that's going to go. I have no idea.
Yeah. But the running backs, receivers, and DBs is something I'm not concerned about, man. They probably got the most talent in the room.
Yeah, but here's the problem, man. Here's the problem. All this time we've loved Notre Dame, and on the defense, I was always worried about what's going to happen on the back end. What about secondary? What about safety? What about the corner? All the time I worried about that. Now we're in a position where I feel really good about that unit, and I'm worried about the front of the defense. Like, we just can't ever have it all lined up. Now I'm worried about us being light up front and getting ran on right in the box, so to speak, every play.
Man, what they're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to put your best linebackers and defensive linemen on the field. I mean, nothing wrong with what the linebackers was last year, but I think the kids that's coming in is probably even better than the kids they got the year before.
Me too. And I think there's some personnel mixing up that needs to happen. And that's what spring is for. Spring is for moving them guys around, not only like within their positions, but trying different blends and mixes of guys, moving around, doing different things. The defense was not bad last year. It was fine, but it did feel like it was never fully all on all cylinders at all time. There was always something a little off. And I'm just hoping Al can get in a room and kind of tighten some of that up to put us in a better spot. But I'm worried about getting ran on up front. I don't like that feeling.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Another thing. I mean, I'm not really worried about Carr. I just think that, I'm not worried about Carr going anywhere, man. I'm thinking he behind the scenes. He's not more up front like he was at first, but I think at the end of the day, Carr he'll sign with Notre Dame, man. I know he was a Tommy Rees guy, if you're gonna, I just don't want to see him do to Notre Dame what, Bowen did. I hate to say his name, but the kid, Bowen, I hate to see him take it all the way to the end and then decide, no, I'm not going to Notre Dame.
It's very, very frustrating. And I can't imagine, as frustrating as that all is for us, I can't imagine how frustrated Freeman has to be to work that hard in recruiting, do that good of a sell job for that many months, knowing everybody wants this guy. You get him engaged and interested and excited about the actual Notre Dame mission, which is way more than just playing football and chasing women around. You get a guy bought into all that, and then you maintain that dynamic for 6 or 8 months. And then 10 hours before signing day, it's all over because of money. That is hard to take. Like, I don't know who couldn't be frustrated with that.
And I don't think it was the money situation for
Bowen.
I don't think it's the money situation for Carr.
Carr doesn't need the money. Carr's got Lloyd Carr, Michigan royalty money. He don't need money. The hell, your grandpa's Lloyd. They ain't hurting for dough.
I don't think it's money for him.
Yeah.
I just think he was really, he was really faithful towards Tommy Rees, he was a Tommy Rees guy, and I think, and then, Alabama already got their quarterback, they got a 5-star. I would like to see how that situation play out if Carr goes and visits Alabama.
Yeah,
Rees is there.
Yeah, it's, you know what? Go find somebody else. Like, they could have their pick of anybody. Yeah. Go find somebody else. You don't need that. Like, you go. You're Nick Saban. Go get somebody else. It doesn't have to be our guy. Same thing with Keeley. I wanted to be like, dude, can you just throw us a bone on one? Like, go get another 5-star. Can you give us a bone on this one? Nope. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see the situation with Tommy Rees being at Alabama and Carr. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Now you got me worried about. Now you got me worrying about more things to add to the list.
But at the end of the day, I think that, you know, Parker go in there and the quarterback coach go in there and they say, hey, man, this is the place to be. And he wound up signing with Notre Dame anyway, you know, because I haven't seen it on his Twitter lately either. He was recruiting hard, you know, for Notre Dame. And now all of a sudden it completely stopped, you know.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going on. But I don't believe he visited Texas A&M, man. They're in the world of trouble down there, man.
Yeah, they are. And you love to see it too. Because I think Jimbo's one of the biggest snakes in the whole country. I think he's a good talent accumulator, and that's where it ends. Like whatever he has to do to get the talent, fall into Jameis Winston at Florida State, whatever. He's a good talent accumulator, but I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. And I don't believe he's a good day coach. I just think he gets talent somehow.
I feel the same way. I mean, he done wasted 2 really good recruiting cycles into absolutely nothing.
Yep,
man.
I love it. I love it. That's
Yeah.
what you get when you think you're going to cut corners and just throw a bunch of money at every problem and expect it to be perfect. There are consequences when you do that, and I love that he's learning that the hard way. Any final thoughts on spring, big picture, the coaching staff? Final word is yours, my friend.
I'm not worried about the spring. You know, I think they're just going to show enough during the spring. I think they finish up 11-1, maybe possibly 12-0. But I'm gonna say 11-1. I think the only loss that probably comes is the SC game.
Wow. So you got Notre Dame. Man, that means you're taking care of Clemson at Death Valley. That means you're taking care of Ohio State at your place. And then the one game that I want more than any else is the one you're saying we might lose. I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah,
Dude, Freeman can't start out 0-2 against USC. That's going to kill me. I love him, but no Notre Dame guy. You can't get in a position where you start out with a losing streak against USC. You're going to kill me.
After this year, I don't think they lose to USC ever again. I don't think, as long as Freeman is there, they don't lose the SC.
Well, you're gonna have this guy, and he's gonna go to the NFL. And then I just saw that 5-star quarterback Ravioli, whatever that Ohio State wanted. He went to USC. Now they're leading for him. Like, you're gonna be up against talent every time you play them from now on. Kelly had it on easy street facing these guys when they were a flaming turd for a decade.
My situation, my thoughts is that, man, the one thing that I can't think of the coach name, man. The one thing that SC coach do not recruit, he don't recruit defense. He don't get great defensive coordinators, and that's what's going to hurt SC in the long run. They're going to have all that talent on offense, but the defense is going to be like,
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And I just hope Lincoln doesn't figure it out.
You know?
I just hope Lincoln doesn't figure that out, right? And then here's the other interesting part of that, man, is if they're jumping into the Big Ten, the whole dynamic around the way you look at USC is going to change. I'm no longer going to look at it as, they're in the Pac-12 where they play 1 or 2 real games a year. Utah plays them tough. And we won't even go there because of the overlap with us and how they play. Utah, and then what? They try and pump up Oregon, and then that's pretty much it. At least when they go into the Big Ten, the whole dynamic's going to change. It is. It's going to shift.
Yeah. I think it was a big mistake for them jumping into the Big Ten.
Money, baby, money. You know. Think about it. Big Ten. USC's in the Big Ten. So they're going to go from Hollywood and go play Rutgers all the way across the country as far as it could possibly be. And I'm telling you, it's in conference.
Mm-hmm.
I want them in Nebraska in 20-degree snow. I want a November USC game on the Nebraska or Iowa plains where it's 0 degrees. I can't wait to see how that goes.
Man, it's going to be real interesting. I I don't see them or UCLA, man. I don't think.
Hey, somebody
Man, we
wrote
might see new coaches in the next 5 years.
Somebody wrote a chat about you that I think you're going to like. Somebody put in the chat, this guy sounds like he's good with the ladies. That's a compliment, my friend. Congratulations to you. They like your voice. Smooth, baby. Smooth all day. Yeah, drunk Vigo goes, man, this guy sounds like he's good with the ladies. Do you give lessons? That's beautiful.
But yeah, I don't see in the next 5 years I see UCLA and USC probably get new coaches because they're gonna have to adjust. You have to get a coach that's been a Big Ten type coach because defense is not neither one of their strong.
Yeah, you're right. That's really what's going to be most interesting to me is I want to see USC hold up in that like Midwestern grind for a winner, and it's just going to change a lot. Anything else, my friend? I really appreciate the call. It was really good to catch up with you.
Yeah, that was it, man. You have a good one, John.
You too, man. Call again. I always like speaking to you.
All right, man.
Be safe out there. Have a good afternoon. Man, what a nice guy. He calls all the time. So nice. 818. What's going on?
What we need is Jean the Baptiste.
Jean Baptiste. You just got to say it the right way. Jean Baptiste. Jean Baptiste.
John, listen. Jean the Baptiste needs to be the prophet the defensive line so sorely needs.
I like that. Yeah. I am just a little nervous about that defensive front, and I have a worry that if you don't hold up to the run, then nothing else is really going to work either. And I really want to avoid a dynamic, man, where Notre Dame's offense gets really good, but then the defense drops back a few notches, and the net gain there is minimal because you're gaining one, losing the other. Am I over worrying? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just telling you, when I think about it, it's a worry.
No, man, it feels like it's trending in that direction. I really do. And I hope I'm wrong because, I'm looking at this like, okay, Notre Dame had Elko and Clark Lee and Diaco you could throw in there too because I think all three of them were very good defensive coordinators. And we've just been used to having a really good defense, and I like that. I mean, if I had to pick one or the other, I would still pick having a really strong defense over a really good offense. That's me personally. But and also, Al Golden has a great history, a very solid history at least of being a good defensive guy. And Marcus Freeman was an up and comer on that side of the ball until he ascended to head coach. So
yeah, I
feel like in that 3-3-5 system is something that Marcus Freeman knows a lot about. And so it would also seem to be that I'm looking at it in two directions. On one hand, it feels to be trending that way. But on the other hand, these are the two guys that should be able to push it in the other direction based on that. Now, and I really feel like I'm with you though, man. I'm not a big fan of the 3-3-5. I am a big fan of the 3-4 when it's done properly. When you get the right players for it, I love the 3-4, the versatility that gives you. I'm just not, and it's probably just maybe not having enough knowledge of it or whatever. But I don't know, man. It's kind of like the opposite of what Joe Toller used to call wussy ball. At Purdue, where I don't know, man. It's just something about I'm not necessarily a fan of beefing up the front line, but I love that versatility. That like you see three big guys in the front, you see two kind of big, lanky outside linebackers, and in that 3-4 sense. I'm just not. I don't have enough knowledge. I guess the 3-3-5. I get it. You get more of a passing. It's more pass defense oriented, and certainly Notre Dame's strength is on that side of the ball. So I understand minimalizing your weaknesses and anyway, you see where I'm going, John.
Yeah, I do. Like people ask, do you mind the 3-3-5? Not if you're stopping the run and doing what you need to do. Like I don't mind whatever you want to run as long as it's working. I just don't want them to commit to something that puts us in a bad position. But I'm also worried that some of the bodies are going to dictate some of that. And then I also don't know if the linebackers, I don't know where that falls. I feel like that group could get a lot better, but only if the right guys play and it all has some rhythm to it. None of it looked natural last year with those linebackers. It didn't look natural. There was a hitch, a little half-second delay before we engaged. Like something was off with the flow of the linebackers that made them a half a second late to react to every big play that could have been made. And I don't know what caused that, but I know I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, neither one of us. I really feel like what we're going to see is the strength of the defense start to move backwards. And I actually think the linebackers are going to make the biggest jump. I think the defensive back is going to be, I think the back 4 and 5 are going to be the strength of the defense.
Yeah, me too.
But I think the back 7 in general, back 7 or 8 in general, I guess back 8 in this sense, since you're on a 3-3-5. I think it's going to be the strength. I think the linebackers are going to make the biggest jump. I think the defensive line is going to take the biggest step back. But what I'm hoping is that it's not like super significant. Like it's more of like just a kind of a quarter step back. But because I think in that system you have to have your linebackers play really good, and I think that's why they had the problems in the red zone. Yeah, because you can't think about it, John. If you're not playing, it makes sense that a defense like that would be great between the 20s because you have a lot more versatility. But when you get down and dirty in the 20s, 20-yard line or so, that's when the line of scrimmage, it becomes a lot more important, and those players up front. And so if you're used to playing that 3-3-5 the whole way and then you get down there, it does sort of make sense why they would take a minor step back. But boy, they took a major step back in that regard. Like, it was weird. It's like, they played great between the 20s and really bad beyond.
Yeah.
So
now, let me ask you this, though.
Let
me ask you this, though. A part of me, when I'm sitting there going over these worries in my head of being light up front and with the linebacker inconsistency and all that, but I feel better about the secondary. When I'm doing all this, a part of me wants to think maybe some of this can be shored up structurally, schematically, like Al Golden's been around defense for like 40 years. He sees you had the second to last touchdown allow rate when teams get in the red zone on you, second to worst in the whole country. There should be little schematic things you could do to shore that up and make half of those field goals instead of touchdowns. The whole unit looks better right away. Like, how is it possible with Notre Dame's talent level, they ended up second to worst in the country in allowing touchdowns in the red zone? That doesn't line up to me logically. That tells me there's some schematic stuff you should be able to shore up. That doesn't add up to me.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because think of all the changes on the offensive side of the ball in terms of coaching this offseason. I mean, it's been like pretty significant. I mean, this is like Freeman's almost starting over from the offensive side of the ball. I mean, almost. You maintain Parker as the tight end coach and McCall as the running back coach, and I guess for that matter, hopefully Stuckey as the wide receivers coach. But, the quarterback coach changes, but that's an upgrade because, in my opinion, that was what was holding back the offense the most anyway. The offensive line coach obviously changes, with Joe Rudolph. And now you ascend Parker to the offensive coordinator. That's a lot of change. I think that the chemistry will be there, though. That's what I think when there's more than meets the eye as far as, what upgrades have you seen? I don't necessarily know, that Joe Rudolph's an upgrade over Harry Heathman. I would say he may even be just a slight reduction. But maybe the way he works with Gino, whatever it is, and then Parker, maybe if that three-headed monster chemistry is there, then that's an upgrade in my opinion. If they can get that right chemistry, and with what Notre Dame has talent-wise coming back, John, a 6-year guy. I've really been thinking about that. Here's a guy in Hartman that had all these great statistics for 5 years. The last quarterback we've had that it's hard just in terms of how he's going to be able to see the field. Okay, just in terms of that.
Kaiser?
My God, the junkie.
Kaiser? Were you going all the way back to Deshaun Kaiser and his big arm?
Not Kaiser. No, Clausen. Clausen was the last. Kaiser was talented, but Clausen could see with that third year, he was really, whereas he had come back in that fourth year. My goodness, his effect, I mean, Notre Dame could have been a title contender that year, and he didn't come back. You know, we got Dane Chris, and Dane Chris got hurt.
But
anyway, so this is a big deal for us because we haven't been in this situation. We've got a quarterback that I think can see the field.
Here's my question to you. All right, here's my question where this all comes to a head. We've been dealing with quarterbacks where you're going, like last year, even if it's Buckner and he's healthy, you don't know what you're going to get because there's really not a reliable body of work. Now you're dealing with the sixth-year guy who I'm not even calling a college kid. The guy's in his mid-20s. Like, that's a man who's like 25, 26, whatever. What can you honestly expect this jump to be? Because Hartman should know it all, see it all, not be scared of it all, know what blitzes are coming. I don't care if he's going from the mesh to a different thing or not. 6 years, this guy should not get rattled by anything. Am I oversimplifying it and hoping? A 60-year guy is an old head. He should be calm back there.
Well, that's the thing I'm looking forward to, man. Seeing someone back there that, you know, should know, just you know, be almost like a, you know, be almost like a scholar back there. I mean, there shouldn't be anything that should get to him. He should have it all very balanced. And then it's just going to be interesting to see what improvements, if there's any improvements, obviously, I think we can say in this game, if he needs to be a little less erratic with the football at times. He can be a little aggressive from what I've seen, and that's why he has a lot of interceptions. But so if you can, if that game part of the game can improve, and I do think the quarterback coach is an upgrade over what we had at Tommy Rees. I really do. I'm not talking as a play caller. That's something that's we're going to see that as the year goes on. What kind of play caller Jared Parker is, but I do think that chemistry is really, really important that they got going on there, and we'll see if it works. But it seems like the personalities they put together, that's what I mean. From a personality standpoint, it seems like there's a lot of chemistry there between those three.
Yeah.
That you would see on paper, you know, in a room.
Here's the other thing, too. Here's the other thing, too. I think most people are in agreement based on the talent upgrades that the offense is kind of trending up. And most people seem to have some reservations about the defensive side of the ball. The one thing I'm comforted by is that is Marcus's expertise. That's what he grew up doing. He was a defense coordinator here before the head coach. Like, he has a vision of what he wants this defense to look like. So I feel like if you don't see it after a while, then that isn't going to fly with Marcus. You know, like recruiting's recruiting, but if he's not seeing what he wants to see, I don't think that's going to fly for that many years. He's a defensive guy.
Well, and that's why what I was about to say is it's interesting. So we've had all this turnover on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, everything's pretty much remained the same, right?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. People don't trust Al Washington. Like, Al Golden looked a little rusty. Al Golden looked a little rusty at times. Like, people have their doubts now. I don't know, man.
Well, and John, maybe that's the thing is that, you know, it's like, is it a good thing or a bad thing to have stability? I think it's a good thing in this case because Al Golden, like I said, he's got a good pedigree. I mean, there's no question. He's a good football coach. He has years to prove that. Maybe he was a little rusty. So, therefore, I'm expecting him to improve pretty greatly this year.
Me too. I think, dude, that is perfectly fair. That is a perfectly fair assumption that a guy with that pedigree and 40 years of history comes in year one, has to get situated, see what he's working with. You get in the year and you're doing what you're doing. It's hard to shift midstream there. I fully think it's reasonable to expect him to tighten things up. Personnel challenges or not, I think it is fair to have Al tighten some of this up. Number one is the red zone touchdown rate. That's the number one thing that could change everything. Turning 7s to 3s a couple times a game changes the world. You got to figure out a way to stop the run. Number 3 concern is those linebackers got to play a lot better. And if they don't, Give me different names and we'll see if they do. You have a lot of linebackers that were all heavily recruited. If you're not getting results, put another one in.
Yeah, it would. I don't want to say it would shock me, man, because nothing almost shocks me anymore with what you expect and what you see with Notre Dame football.
That's fair. On the good and the bad. Good and bad.
Yeah, but I will say, right, good and bad. But I will say it would be very surprising because of the talent at linebacker, because of, again, the coaching acumen you have at teaching that position. It would just make sense that I think you're going to see a big jump in the linebacker play, man. I'm not wrong, but like anything else, it's the defensive line I'm most concerned about. But I'm really, really comfortable with what they got in the back four. I think it's the defense, John, that's going to have to take a few more risks. I think they still remember they did start. They started turning the ball over or getting takeaways as the year went on. But it was real soft there in the beginning. And I think it's the defense. And I think Benjamin Morris has a lot to do with why that changed. Is that I think his aggression started to play on other people and they started playing with more. But I think that's the key, man. Is we have to be a little more aggressive than what we've been in the past.
Yeah. Well, not only well aggressive, like more aggressive, but more aggressive in actually having it be effective. Like we tried to be aggressive at weird times, didn't get home and it burned us. A part of being aggressive is you got to finish it off. Like I need the results of being aggressive, not just the appearance of trying to be, of me seeing Marist's Maine getting stonewalled and blocked and not getting home. And then there's a big gap and the guy's wide open. I'm sick of seeing that.
Well, and again, I think going back to what we were talking about with coaching chemistry, I just expect those things to be better this year. I just think that maybe it was a little bit of rust. And also the dynamic with Freeman and Golden as head coach and defensive coordinator, they had to figure out that dynamic between the two of them too. How much do you lean on the guy who's the old sage of the deep, and then how much do you have confidence in yourself to step in there? And I just think the off season they're going through, heading into next year, I would expect to see a big jump in that regard as well. I mean, if you just look at the defensive staff, who they have, again, I think Washington's the one I'm iffy about. I'm still not, isn't that his name? The line coach Washington. I'm still not real sold on him. But the rest of them I am. I mean, I just think it's a good enough, I shouldn't say good enough. I think it's a really good, on paper, staff with really good players on defense. So I would just expect this operation to be better. Again, they were great between the 20s. I mean, for as bad as they were in the red zone, they were great between the 20s. So I just want to see those two things, one stay the same, and the other one get
better.
Much better.
Yeah, and then you pair that with, you know what? Let me bring this up to you. A part of me thinks the defense might end up in a better spot merely because I have more faith the offense is going to be able to not only just score more points, which gives them more margin for error, but also they're going to be out there more. Notre Dame's going to have more long drives. They're going to eat up some clock. They're going to, or put up points fast. Those things help the defense too. So this offense can help the defense in ways it wasn't able to last year by what they do as well.
I will say this. I wouldn't be surprised, and I know we're going to be upset, but I'm glad we have 4 games to get warmed up. Don't be surprised, John, if the first couple games, our offense doesn't look nearly as good as it looks after that. Just because of again, that when you're first dealing with a new offensive system and new coaches, we saw it last year. We saw it the year before. It took a couple games. Well, it took a few games for them to get going last year, but they finally did figure it out and did pretty well with what they had to work.
Yep. And so, week one's weird anyways. Week one's going to be weird anyways because it's Navy. So what you want to do and how you're going to do things and with the personnel is all going to be different anyways. But this offense should have plenty of opportunities to be ready and primed to go for that Ohio State game. You have a run-up of winnable games.
That's the thing, dude.
And it all builds up. It all builds up to that magical late September night in South Bend, Indiana.
Well, and that's the thing. It comes in almost the perfect spot on the schedule for all that. So there really, again, there won't be any excuses. There won't be any excuses going into that game. Well, unless of course Hartman goes down, Buckner goes down. Then we might have a couple excuses.
Well, yeah.
But, so, I'm knocking on wood, by the way. I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah, I know.
No,
no more stairs. Somebody's going to have to carry Hartman when he goes downstairs, have a guy on each side carrying him to make sure he doesn't fall down the stairs and twist an ankle or something.
Absolutely, man. I'd be making sure that you're taking the elevator. You're never
Yeah,
using the
exactly.
stairs. Use the stairs.
Right.
You get the timeout, buddy. Yeah, that's what they need to do. All
Uh,
right, John, look, I'm going to get to the last caller of the day. And, yeah, man, looking forward to the spring. And, yeah, this will be a fun spring to see.
Hey, you know
kind of
what, man?
development-
Listen, I think you're going to the blue and gold game. I'm going to the blue and gold game. And I think Pat's coming to the blue and gold game. So we're going to have ourselves a fun time, my friend.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there. It'll be great. It'll be great to see you.
Beautiful.
sure.
Man, hey.
It'll be great to see him. I can't wait to meet him.
Yep, it'll be fun. Rudy might even be there. Angela might be there. We're going to have a big group. So it'll be fun. And thank you for your calls. Always well thought out.
I got one more thing to say.
Yep, go ahead.
One more thing to say before I go. I thought of another name for you. If you can reel in Mike Goldby. You got Goldby and Goldby. Goldby and Goldby.
I like that. That's good. That's perfect. You're always thinking, my friend. It's always rattling in your brain, and I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too, man. Take care.
Take it easy. What is this I have on the screen? Don't be surprised if they lose one or two of the first few games. I mean, that can't happen. That's an absolute disaster in every single way. That can't happen. I'm not saying you get to sleepwalk through them and not even try and win. I'm just saying there is no scenario where you could lose one or two games before Ohio State. It cannot happen. It just can't be. The only path forward is undefeated hosting Ohio State with everything on the line. Like, we're not doing all that again. We're not doing early last year again where nobody knows what's going on. Why don't we get 8 practice games? No. Navy, just run over them. Tennessee State, fine, whatever. NC State, kind of tough. Big deal. Go there and win a game. CMU, no. Unacceptable. John, it happened last year. Yeah, exactly. And the only reason that it wasn't a bigger bonfire was because one is the quarterback goes down early in the starter. So then you have a built-in excuse for everything that goes wrong from that time on. Because you can always lean, and it's an excuse, and it's true. Like, it could be at this, it's like, are you making an excuse? Well, kind of, but it still is real. Like, you had that, but so that gives you a built-in excuse for everything bad that happens then. Then you also add year one of Freeman. He's getting it figured out, learning the ropes, dealing with Kelly's talent, and I said that too, of those excuses. I ain't open to that this year. I'm not open to that this year. Like, if you tell me you lose a tough battle in Death Valley to Clemson, I'm not going to be happy, but I can live with it. You don't get any more Marshalls. You don't get any more Stanfords. And I don't care if all our guys get their legs ran over by a bus before the game. No, you don't get any more of those. You don't. You don't get any more of those. It's not, you can't. So I just, the idea of us losing one or two before Ohio State isn't even registering to me. It isn't. So you got to figure out a way to win. Oh, NC State away is kind of tough. I'm not saying it isn't tough. Find a way to win the game and then come back home. All right? So I'm not open to any of that, bro. I'm not open to any of that. Marshall was one thing. You could argue it's close in the year and you're still trying to gel. And then you lost your quarterback, and then that threw that whole game into chaos. But the fact that it was at home and you did that was just horrific. That Stanford one's way worse than even the Marshall one. Just out of nowhere for no reason, no excuse, just garbage. Like, you just can't have it. You can't have it. All right. So I don't know what's going to happen there. All right, folks, that's going to be it. Good morning show. A little more emotional stability from your host in the morning shows than the late night ones. All right. Man, I see what you guys are talking about in the chat. I don't know. Are you trying to get me in trouble? Take me out. Don't be mentioning any of that to Pat either. Pat has a history of taking me out and having a night. Don't bring that up or he'll do it again. Anyways, this was great. This was fun. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll do something later in the week, maybe. We'll see what's going on. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks for the chats. Happy birthday to Rudy. Angela, I hope you have a good time. Enjoy your birthday. We'll see everybody on Twitter. Have a good one.